Hey mamas, you are listening to the Motherhood is Ghetto podcast. We all know motherhood can be a beautiful thing, but girl, it can also be ghetto. Join me as we discuss some of the best and worst parts of being a mom raising kids, all while trying to figure out this thing called life. This ghetto is a safe space, mamas. So welcome to the hood. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Motherhood is Ghetto. My name is Joy, and how y'all doing out there? If you're doing all right, you already know what to say. Say amen. I pray that you are having a great day, a great week so far. I pray that you are having a great summer so far. We're halfway through it, and the kids will be back in school before we know it. Amen. Um, but I do pray that you all are having a great day today. Thank you for joining me today for part 2 of CPS almost took my kids twice. So we're going to get right into it, mamas. This is going to be part 2, the final part. Thank God, because I think that if this would have happened a third time, we'd be telling a different story. But this would be part 2 of CPS almost took my kids twice, and I will be sharing with you guys the second time that CPS almost took my kids. If you haven't listened to part 1, go ahead and pause this episode. Amen. Go listen to part 1 and then come back and listen to part 2, because there is a message that ties all this in together. So you have to listen to part 1 in order to understand what I'm trying to put down. Amen. So where we last left off from part 1, I ended up getting my daughter, picking her up. Everything was copacetic. Went back later on to check on my husband, make sure he was okay, figure out what went on, all that good stuff. But basically, just to kind of like give context, what was going on with him. During this time, his mother had just passed away. He was having a really tough time dealing with it. So he was turning to a lot of drinking, a lot of substance abuse, and he just was not in the right mindset mentally. And things ensued, and there ended up being some sort of traffic stop, and it just all kind of like snowballed from there. But here we are now, part 2. So this is a few months later. I want to say this is probably now, I think at the time that this happened, it was like that summer. So now we're headed into the fall of that same year. And after the first incident, I'm kind of like, okay, I need to, as much as I don't want to, I need to make sure that like I'm not leaving my kids alone with my husband. Like, I need to be making sure that if we go somewhere, we all go together, or I take the kids with me. It's just that he was not in the right state of mind to be able to responsibly care for our kids. And I don't say that, anything negative or anything towards him. I love my husband. I hope he continues to rest in peace. But that's just what the facts of the matter were at that time. He was just not there enough to be able to properly care and watch over our kids. So during this time between the summer and the fall from the first incident, I was really, like I said, making sure that we're all together, making sure that the kids are with me, or if he goes somewhere, then he just goes by himself and I keep the kids with me just to make sure that they're safe. So a few months goes by, and I was getting ready to go to a family function for my side of the family, and my husband didn't want to go. And this is a point in time where Solomon's not diagnosed yet for autism, and we don't know that there's anything wrong with him. We just know that he doesn't talk and he screams everywhere we go. So when I did want to go somewhere, it was always very daunting. It was very frustrating because he would get so frustrated so easily. He would scream, he would cry, he would throw himself on the floor. And at that time, we didn't know what was wrong with him, what was going on with him. So when I'm getting ready to go to this family function, I'm like thinking in my head, like, I really don't want to take Solomon with me. And then where we were going, like, there was a pool in the backyard. So I was like, I don't want to have to be worried about him running towards a pool and just him throwing fits and screaming and yelling and all that stuff. So things have been going okay so far, and me and my husband, we sat down and we talked about everything that happened, and was telling him, I understand, you're hurting, you just lost your mom, but I need you to slow down on the drinking. Like I need you to help me with these kids, but I'm gonna, do all of I can to make sure that we get you back on track. So when I was getting ready to go to this family function, my husband said he didn't want to go, which was cool. And I felt comfortable enough to leave Solomon there at the house with him. And that was not the right choice. That was not the right choice, y'all. So I go on to the family function with Genesis and Jahari Jr. I leave Solomon at home with his dad, and also my stepdaughter is there too. And so I'm at the family function. We're having a good time, everything like that. Everything is good, no problem. I get a call on my phone, and it's not a number that I recognize. So I ignore it the first time, and I keep going about my business with my family. And then the number calls me again. So I'm not thinking that anything's wrong because I know my husband has a phone, and if he was calling me, like, he would call me from his phone. So the second time this number calls, I answer it, and I pick up the phone, and there's a lady on the other line. And the lady that's on the other line is my neighbor. She lived across the way from our apartment. So it was our door, and then across our door was her door. And she says, "Hey, ma'am, like I'm your next door neighbor, whoop de whoop. You need to get home right now." She said, "They finna take your husband to jail, and they finna take your kids, and you need to get home right now." Y'all, when I tell you, my heart hit the floor again. I was like, not again. I thought things were getting better. I messed up again. I was not supposed to do this again. This was not supposed to happen again. So I'm like, okay, I'm on my way. And I leave Genesis and Jahari Jr. with my mom at the family function, and I say, I gotta go. There's something going on. I gotta go. And so I'm flying down the freeway to get back home. And I pull up, and there's police, there's paramedic, there's firefighter. And I'm just like, what happened? I wasn't gone that long. What happened? And I walk up into the house, and I see my husband on the floor in our house in handcuffs. And my kids, my son and my stepdaughter, are sitting in the back of an ambulance truck. And so I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, what is going on? Like, what happened? So the police officers and the paramedics asked me to step outside so that way they could talk to me. And so they proceed to tell me that this was actually the second time that they came out to my house that day. I guess the first time that they came out, my husband had collapsed outside. He went outside to the car to go get something and he ended up collapsing. And someone in the complex called 911 for him, called the ambulance because he had passed out, like he was laying out there like in the carport or whatever. And some of the neighborhood kids like helped him like, get up and stuff like that. And I guess by the time the paramedics had came, my husband was already in the house, like, and so they didn't know like who had the emergency or whatever like that. So they left. But apparently when he came back in the house, my stepdaughter was watching him, like she saw him come back in the house and just collapse on the bed. And so she was trying to wake him up and he wouldn't wake up. So she called 911 again for her dad. And the paramedics did come out and they came and, she let them in the house and they're trying to wake him up, and they're saying, hey, what's like, are you okay? Or like, can you hear me? And my husband wakes up, but he has no idea what's going on. There's paramedics standing around him. The kids are in another room. So he's like, what's going on? And from the way that it was described to me by the paramedics, he just turned into the Hulk. Like he started yelling and punched one of the paramedics, all that stuff. So then, of course, they called the police. And that's how the police got involved and all that. So I guess the tussle came from the bedroom to the living room. So that's why I found him handcuffed in the living room. But during that time, my front door is open. So my next door neighbor is seeing everything that's going on. And when I was talking to my husband about it, because I was wondering how she got my phone number, how she knew to call me. And when I talked to my husband about it, he said that when they had me in handcuffs, he was like, the only thing I knew to do was scream your phone number. And that's all I started doing was screaming your phone number. And I guess the neighbor heard me and she called you. When I tell y'all, like, when I tell y'all, God is real, amen. God is real, and nobody can convince me otherwise. That's just it. That's it. So she hears my husband screaming my phone number and she calls it. And that's how she ends up getting a hold of me. So I'm talking to the paramedics and everything, and I'm explaining to them like I understand because they're at this point they're telling me like he's going to go to jail for a felony assault charge, and I'm like, oh no, like this cannot be. And my husband has been to jail before, but never on a felony, so I'm like, absolutely not. Like this can't happen. I no, this cannot happen. So I started explaining to them like everything that's gone on with his mother passing away and all this good stuff, and just like begging them like he cannot be arrested for a felony charge. So the paramedics were saying, okay, we'll agree to drop the felony charge. We won't take him in or anything for felony, but we are going to take him to the hospital. But I do want to let you know that we did call Child Protective Services. And I was like, what? No. I was like, no, there's no way. And I was like, are you for real? And the paramedic was like, yes, they have been engaged. So you can expect a pop-up visit from them as soon as later on today, but they have been engaged. Of investigation has been launched, and that is what it is. Like your children were put in danger. So yeah, you it's happening again. So that was that. Paramedics leave and everything like that. He goes to get checked out. Everything is good. And then he's able to come back home, thank God. So no charges or anything. He doesn't go to jail or nothing like that. But there's a CPS thing again. And when we got back home, I was talking to my neighbor and I was telling her, thank you so much for calling me. Like this is crazy. And she was telling me, she's like, I've dealt with CPS a lot. And she was like, you need to go and clean up your house right now. She was like, you need to go clean up your house. You need to, make sure your laundry is done, like clean your kitchen, all that good stuff, because she said they're going to be here. She's like that, like what they were saying. She's like, that's 100% true. They will pop up on you. They're going to check your cabinets. They're going to check the kids' rooms. They're going to check bathrooms. They're going to check everything to try to prove that the conditions that they live in or the parents are unfit. So she's like, go clean up your house, this and that. And I was like, okay, okay, cool. Thank you for letting me know. But the issue was, again, like I mentioned in the first part, we where we lived was not the best. And when I tell you that our apartment was roach infested, it was roach infested. But again, we didn't have any money to go anywhere else. Our credit wasn't good enough to go anywhere else. That was literally all that we could get. And we just had to like grin and bear it. Like we had to just take it because it was a roof over our heads. And it was the whole complex was infested with roaches. And the infestation was so bad, y'all. I used to tell my kids that they were spiders because I did not want them going around other people saying that we had roaches. I would rather them say we had spiders than roaches. So my kids for a long time grew up thinking that roaches were spiders. I mean, I had to do what I had to do because I mean, I knew I knew it was roach infested. And also, too, I didn't want them to be scared every time they saw a roach. But funny little side note about that. So my kids are thinking that roaches are spiders. One day, I think one of my husband's family members come over and like one of the kids come over and they see the roach and they're like, y'all got roaches. Like this is what they're telling my kids. And my kids are like, no, we don't. Those are spiders. And I'm like, So on that day, that's when my kids learned that those were roaches and not spiders. But anyway, so that was my biggest worry. I was like, what if they see these roaches like and say that this isn't a fit environment for them? Like I'm panicking. Like I don't know what to expect because this part of it had never happened. Like the first time this didn't happen. But the second time, like CPS has been engaged, there's an investigation and they're coming. So I'm scared. Like I'm like, what are we gonna do? Like, so I prayed. I was like, God, please just let the roaches just stay where they are for this time. Like, please don't let no roaches come out. Like, I turned on all the lights. I was playing music, like, to make sure, like, they stayed, like, in whatever corners that they were at. Like, I just was like, I don't know. Like, I'm just scared. So the next day comes and me and my husband, like, we're just kind of waiting, like pacing on, on pins and needles because they don't tell you when they show up. Like you do not know the day or the hour. Like, but the lady, my neighbor was telling us, like, she's like, they gonna come tomorrow. Like, trust and believe. Like they gonna pop up on you tomorrow. So we're just kind of waiting around, and so a few hours go by, and I tell my husband I'm gonna head to the store really quick. I'll be right back. And I get in the car, I pull off, and as I'm exiting the apartment complex, I see the state car driving to the complex, and I'm like, I know that's not them. So I hit a U-turn and I come back in the complex, and I'm following behind them, and sure enough, it's them. So I'm like, okay. So I hop out of the car, I walk to their car, hello, hello, and I let them in the house. And so then they start looking through cabinets, they're going in the kids' rooms, just doing what they do. And I'm just praying that a roach doesn't pop out. I'm praying that like I did enough cleaning and straightening up. I just don't know what to expect at this point. And so after they did their walkthrough, they talked with the kids, all that good stuff. They let us know that it looks like they live in a safe home environment. There's food in the cabinets, there's food in the refrigerators. They all have a place to sleep comfortably. So we're gonna go ahead and close this investigation, close this case, because we do not feel these children are in any imminent danger. But, we did have to come out because of the circumstances that happened yesterday. I was like, no, I totally get it. Like, it's fine. Like, we appreciate you for coming, all that good stuff. And that was it. And so a couple things with this story, right? That was a lot. Hold on, let me this is really hard for me to tell this story. It's really hard because like I said in the first part, this year, that whole year was one of the worst years of my life. Besides the year that my husband passed away, like that year is a close second. It was the worst year of my life, hands down, before my husband passed away. So it's hard for me to relive it because all those emotions and everything that I was feeling is coming back, and I feel a little overwhelmed, but like I said, like the message is bigger. And I don't want to be that type of person that gets on Beyonce's internet telling all her business just to tell all her business. I really feel like my journey and the things that I've encountered being a mom and being a wife, I feel like my story can resonate with so many people. And this second time that CPS was involved in with my children and stuff like that, this was the absolute final wake up call that I needed, because God showed me again how easy and with quickness I could lose everything. Like I could lose it just like that if I did not focus on one, getting my family out of that environment, and two, focusing on what truly needed my attention. To stop trying to escape, to stop trying to ignore my marriage crumbling, to stop ignoring all the negative things that were going on and face it. And I think even after the first incident, like I told myself like, okay, like I need to figure out a way to get, we need to get out of this situation. I need to help my husband, but I don't think that I was fully in it. It was just something, nice to say. And listening to both of these stories, you're probably wondering why, like, like Joy, you weren't even there. Like, so why are you being so hard on yourself? But I do take part responsibility because of the fact that, again, I just wasn't there either. I wanted to be anywhere else so bad. I didn't want to be around my husband. I didn't want to face the fact that I lived somewhere I didn't want to live. It was embarrassing to me. I never invited any one of my family members to that place because I didn't want them to see how we were living. Like, I was embarrassed, I was ashamed, all the things. And I didn't want anyone to tell me or look down on me that I wasn't a good mom or that we're living like this when I really was just trying to make sure my family had a roof over their head. My husband wasn't working. Like, I'm the only one bringing in income, so I had to do what I had to do. And for a long time, I was ashamed of that. Like, I was so ashamed of it. So I do take part responsibility because my priorities weren't straight. As soon as things started to seem like they weren't going right, I tucked my tail and I tried to run as far away from the problems as possible. But again, God showed up and was like, I need you to focus. I need you to get your family out of this side of town. I need you to get out of this environment. I need you to go to higher ground, or you will lose your family. Every single last one of them you will lose. And once I realized that, that was it. I was like, no more. And I started looking for anything, anywhere we could go that would take us in our credit. I started looking for different apartments. Of course, got turned down everywhere that I went. I had ran out of options. And just when I was ready to give up, I was like, I'm gonna ask my brother to put an apartment in his name for me. And you already know, like, that's a huge ask of anyone to put something in their name. Like, that means that they're trusting you to make sure that there's no damages, rent gets paid because it's their name on the line. And I wasn't sure if he was gonna do it or not. I had no idea, but I was like, this is my last resort. My parents can't help me. My friends or the little friends I had back then, like, they can't help me. No other family can help. Like, this is my final last option. If this doesn't work out, then, like, I was ready to give up. Like, I was ready to surrender and be like, whatever happens, happens. But I went to my brother. I pray he continues to rest in peace. And I asked him, I said, bro, I know this is a lot, but could you please put this apartment in your name for me? I was like, this is where it is. This is the application. Like, I can pay all the fees, all the things. I said, but could you please? Like, I was begging him. I was like, can you please put this in your name for me? And I promise, I won't mess it. I won't mess up your name. I won't mess up your credit. I promise. And after I said all that, he just looked at me and said, okay, man, love that guy, man. Love that guy. love him. But he did. So thanks to my brother Jason, we ended up getting an apartment, better neighborhood, closer to my mom too. So that was super nice to be near her and just down the street from her. And it was a different environment. My kids were happier. It was a lighter feeling. That heaviness of living in that place was gone. It was lifted up off of us. My husband started to feel better. We started to get our marriage back on track. And also too, because my my mental clarity was off when we were living in that other place, and I wasn't able to focus and I wasn't present. I wasn't able to see what was going on with Solomon either. Again, when we lived there, this is before he was diagnosed with autism. And I'm thinking that the fact that he doesn't talk, he's not potty trained, not from our lack of trying, but like he at this point he's already 2 years old and he's not talking. He's still wearing diapers. He's yelling and screaming all the time. We don't know what's going on with him. And I did not have the mental clarity enough to realize that something was going on with my son too. And it's when we got out of that environment that I was able to redirect my focus on them, because now I was in a place where I wanted to be. My husband was in better spirits, so I wanted to be around him again. So I was able to observe what was going on and look at my son and for the first time think something's not right. And taking him to the pediatrician and them just telling me like, oh, it's just a development delay. They develop slower than girls, and saying, nah, I don't think that's what it is. I'm going to go get a second opinion. And I did that. And we found out that our son had autism. I don't think that I would have even had the wherewithal to challenge that or question what they were telling me had I still been in that environment. I was just too busy trying to escape it. I was too busy trying to put that out of my mind, what was going on where I lived, and just ignore it. So, us moving did a whole lot of good. And at that moment, it was like a do or die situation. I was like, I have to change something. I cannot stay here. We cannot stay here. And yeah, so that's it. That's the story. And also to give a little context, because you're probably wondering like, well, what happened to your husband? Like, why was he collapsing? What was going on? Um, Long story short, there was drugs involved, and a person came to the house after I had left, and they partook in said drugs together, and that was it. And it's all good though. This person, we've made amends. We're good. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much. We had been working on him kind of slowing down on drinking and the drugs and stuff, so that way he can focus on getting better, so that way he can do what he needed to do for our family. And just took that one person to take him backwards. But that's okay, because that was then and this is now. So, and my husband is resting peacefully, so it is what it is. But again, mamas, I'm not telling you this story because I'm trying to air out my business or get views or clicks, stuff like that. Like, none of that matters to me. These things, like these moments, have really shaped the person that I am. And you've heard me tell you guys stories about grieving and losing my husband and losing my brother and really focusing to fix the parts of me that I felt needed to be fixed, and fixing my finances, being a better caregiver, gentle parenting my kids, and eventually achieving one of my goals of buying my family a home. All that stuff I don't feel like would be possible or would have happened if this didn't happen, because it was nothing but God just letting me know, like, hey, I told you that this would continue if y'all continue to stay here where you are. And I need you to tighten up. Your husband's not going to be able to do this. Your husband is not going to be able to get you guys where you need to be. It's up to you. So if I have to scare you and threaten to take away your kids, then that's what I'll do, because you're not going to do it otherwise. And I thank God that he did, because I might still be living on the east side. But difference is I would have no husband and no kids. So again, I say all this to say, like, you are not your mistakes. You are more than your mistakes. You can come back from any mistake that you've made. You have purpose on your life. And the children that you gave birth to, they are assigned to you. There's no one on this earth that could be their mother but you. So when things do happen, when mistakes happen, it's okay as long as we learn from them and we don't stay stuck in the same hamster wheel, in the same rat race, and we do better, even if it's just a little bit better. Like the apartment that we moved to, yes, it was not roach infested. It was in a better neighborhood. But at the end of the day, it was still an apartment. It was still a little apartment. And, it wasn't a four-story mansion, mega mansion, nothing like that. But it was safe. It was clean. And it gave my family a sense of security. And it gave us a sense of clarity so that way we could see things in clear view. And sometimes that's just all you need. So even if it's just a little bit of improvement, you learn from a mistake and you improve a little bit, like that goes a long way. So don't get down on yourself if you've made mistakes in the past. Don't feel guilty, because Lord knows I felt guilty for a long time. And that's why I say I take part responsibility, because I just wasn't there. I was checked out. So that's on me. But just know that you have the power to change anything in your life that you think needs changing. And as long as you stay focused, there's nothing that can stop you. So, with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and land the plane here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I appreciate y'all giving me the space to share this story with you guys. And if you thought that this was helpful or you resonated with it in any way, please do not hesitate to share it with someone who you think would find it helpful as well. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. I post reels there so you can keep up with me and the kids. I post show previews, stuff like that. And you can also DM me there if you have any questions or any topics you'd like me to discuss on motherhood. And don't forget to follow the show if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow the show. Also, too, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Motherhood is Ghetto podcast is on YouTube, and also it is on YouTube podcast as well. So don't forget to subscribe to the show there. And then lastly, don't forget to pick up your copy of the Empower Mama Planner, as well as the Motherhood is Ghetto Self-Care Journal for Mothers. Both are available on Amazon right now. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, mamas. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast and share with anyone who you think may enjoy it. And follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. Also, feel free to DM me if you have any experiences, opinions, or views on motherhood you'd like me to share on the podcast. Until next time, mamas.